Okay, so at the time of recording this, my previous video, which is on AEW Fight Forever, has about 1,000 hits. So yeah, I guess you can say it's going pretty viral, and I figured since people seem to have received it so well, I figured I'd make another video about AEW Fight Forever. But this time it's not to critique it, it's more so on how to improve it, more specifically the Road to Elite mode. Here are 5 easy ways they can actually improve the Road to Elite mode in this game or even the next AEW game. The first way would be to just expand the mode beyond AEW, and they kind of crack at this a little bit when they allow the wrestlers to go to the gym and go to press conferences and all that. But what I'm more so referring to is allowing the wrestlers to wrestle in different promotions. And I know what you're thinking. This is something that has been done before. There are even some WWE games where you can wrestle in their version of New Japan Pro Wrestling or their version of AAA, and that's not that big of a deal. But hear me out. In M. Dickey's Wrestling Empire and Pro Wrestling Revolution, there are actually a multitude of companies set in that game, and you can actually sign with whatever company you want, or in some cases, whatever company will have you. All of them are fictitious, but yeah, there are at least, I believe, 10 to 15 companies in each M. Dickey wrestling game, and once you graduate from the training school in the game, a certain company will either offer you a contract, or you can opt to sign with a company, or you can just, I think, even remain a free agent. But either way, you can sign with different companies, and each thing you do in said company will have an impact on you and your standing in the pro wrestling world. And sometimes in the game, the head booker of whatever company you're wrestling for will ask you to complete certain objectives or commit certain actions, and depending on if you do them successfully or not, it'll affect your standing in the company. You'll either get pushed or maybe get fired from the company altogether and have to sign with another company. And I think if AEW brought this feature into their game or future games, they could do it better than any other company that's tried to do it, because they actually have partnerships with other major wrestling promotions around the world, so they don't have to make up fake companies or put in off-brand rip-off versions of other companies in their game. They can just use the actual companies like Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, etc. And they don't have to use fake rip-off characters like the Crab Girl from WWE 2K23. They can use actual wrestlers from those companies that everyone knows and loves. And another thing is, going back to what I was alluding to earlier, they can implement certain scenarios where you have to make choices. Like, certain people can tell you to do something, and if you do it, it has an effect, and if you don't, it also has an effect. For example, in Wrestling Empire and Pro Wrestling Revolution, there'll be plenty of cutscenes where you'll be backstage, and another wrestler will either tell you to come interfere in their match or take a dive in their match they're having with you, and if they do, they'll give you like $500 that you can use to spend on like gym equipment or steroids or whatever, but in exchange, your popularity will decrease because you lost a match. Just little decisions like that, little choices, would go a long way in making the gameplay a little bit less linear and a little bit more interactive, and overall just supply a more robust gaming experience. Even in the career modes for WWE 2K16 and WWE 2K17, they have this little metric, this little chart where either, I believe in 2016 it's the Authority, in 2017 it's Paul Heyman, where you have to complete certain objectives during your match, and if you do, your standing with the Authority or Paul Heyman will become favorable, and if you don't, it'll have a negative effect, and you increase your chances of either the Authority not liking you or Paul Heyman not wanting to adopt you as one of his clients. Something like this is actually another thing that AEW tried to take a crack at with their game, but instead of the interaction ending with anything substantial or meaningful, it just ends up with your player and the wrestler you're interacting with taking a stupid selfie together. And that's it. There's like no payoff at all. There's no effect on the story whatsoever. At the very least, what they could have done is do the same thing that WWE 2K22 and WWE 2K23 do in their career modes, which is to let you choose which storylines you want to be a part of. Like, you're presented with a whole slew of storylines you can either start with through social media or backstage interactions, and whichever ones you don't want to do, you have the choice to not do them, and whichever ones you do want to do, those are the storylines you pick. But in Road to Elite, you're just presented with randomly generated storylines. Whichever one you're assigned is the one you get, and that's the bottom line because the developer said so. Another thing that could have supplemented the career mode, and this is actually something a lot of the other people that played the game said, is that you could have made the mini games interactive, like the mini games where you're training and working out. You could have made them similar to the mini games you play with Matt and Nick in the Go Out portion of Road to Elite, except your performance in the games will affect how good your training session goes, and the amount of SP you receive will be dependent upon how you perform during the game. This apparently is a feature that is present in MMA games, boxing games, basketball games, other types of sports games. Now, admittedly, I don't play many other types of sports games besides wrestling games. However, there is one game from 2010, MMA game, that I really like called EA Sports MMA, and in that game, during the career mode, you get to train with Bas Rutten, who starts out as your trainer in the beginning of the road, and then later in the mode, he introduces you to other trainers like MMA legends like Randy Couture, and there's some other guys in that mode that I don't remember the names of, but anyway, you get to train with all these MMA legends, and when you train at their gym, they have a certain type of fighting style that they specialize in. So if you want to improve your striking and train with an MMA guy that does boxing really well, you'll go to his gym and train in boxing, and that'll improve your striking, and you'll even get to earn a move if you have to complete a mini game in order to earn it. But if you do, you'll earn a special move that can only be learned from that specific trainer, and you will get to use that move in fights from there on out in your career. So for instance, in like an AEW game, if you want to work on your submissions, you can train with Bryan Danielson, and your submissions will be improved, and you'll even learn a special submission move like the lapel lock or the guillotine or whatever. And let's say you want to improve on your hardcore wrestling, you can train with Jon Moxley, and you could learn a special move like how to blade yourself in a match, even if the only thing that happened to you was getting kicked in the leg. And right now in Road to Elite, you can use any moves you want, and the special abilities come to you very easily. In Road to Elite, it just feels like you don't have to do much to earn things. As long as you do 1 or 2 training sessions every month and go out and do all the other little things, you'll be gifted with a bunch of money and a bunch of SP points, and everything just kind of falls into your lap. Overall, I just want to feel like I'm earning things and evolving, and there's like an evolution to my character. I just don't get that in Road to Elite, and that's what they really should incorporate, I think. So in review, 4 things that I think should be added in order to improve Road to Elite are: number 1, a more sense of choice and interaction. Let me feel like the things I'm doing in this game are affecting my story and my character and my arc, so the things that I'm doing here feel like they actually matter. Number 2, feel like my character is evolving as I'm playing. Number 3, broaden the universe by adding in more companies and more wrestlers. And number 4, don't just allow everything to fall into my lap and make me work in order to unlock all the features and special stuff that the game has to offer. And the 5th thing you could do simply is just to make the mode itself longer than just, 4 months, 4 pay-per-views worth of gameplay. But, if you just add maybe the other 4, or even the other 3, or maybe just 2 of the features I mentioned, you could drastically improve Road to Elite, in my opinion. If you guys have any suggestions on how to improve Road to Elite for Fight Forever, or the next AEW game even, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and stuff. And yeah,